Welcome back to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. This is Zach, that is Anthony, and today we are talking about what do you do when your kids do not listen. We're talking about peaceful homes, peaceful parenting, but damn it, the kids don't want to do what they're told. What do you do? If you can't beat them into a box, how do you address it? We're going to go through several examples of things we do in place of corporal punishment or of the many things you see that are common use today. But before we dive into that, Anthony and I, we don't run ads. We don't ask for anything. We go forward. We do our thing. We push content. But I will say that if you're enjoying what we're doing and you're looking to normalize the discussion on fatherhood, you've got to be a part of that process. So jump out there, spread the good word, subscribe, whatever you can do to let people know it's okay to talk about fatherhood. It is normal to talk about being a better parent. And the only way we can do that is if we talk about it. So that's what we're doing today. Anthony, what's up, brother? Let's talk about what we do instead of hitting our kids when they don't listen.
Yeah, kids are annoying when they don't listen, man. It's not good.
That's the episode. End it.
It's not good for anybody. This is probably one of the most asked questions, right? How do I get my kid to listen? What do I do when they don't listen? And we just tend to go about it the wrong way, right? If your kid's not listening, what does it matter what the actual thing that they're not paying attention to? Right? Why not have a better plan? Why not know what to say in every moment or how to act in every moment? But besides that, I mean, what do you do when you get your kid to listen? To get your kid to listen, there's moments where, let's say, your kid says no to you. Right? What do you do, Zach? Has your son or your daughter ever said no? How do you go about that?
I was afraid you were going to ask me because my brain was flying through like the tabs. I don't think they've ever given an outright no. It's usually an explanation as to why they don't want to. So they don't just say no and kind of dig a trench. They'll say why. I do get that a lot. Why this when I can do that? Or I want to do that. Why do I have to make my bed if I can just take it? Like, I'm just going to lay on it. Why do I have to clean my room? I like it where it is. It's more like them explaining to me why they're not going to do it or don't want to do it, as opposed to just saying no without reason.
Well, that sounds like an answer from a home that applies reason and logic. Right?
I was trying to go all the way back to them being young when they didn't have that,
yeah.
but I can't remember a time. Even then as kids, they were just like, but I'd rather,
No, and that's important, right? It's important to understand that dynamic in the home. If you take the time to explain things, your kids will process it and will show you that in return, right? So when you say, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to listen, they'll actually, instead of saying no, they'll give you an example, or they'll give you a reason why. They'll have a good argument.
Do you think that's a gap in our skill sets, that we aren't coming from a home where we had to build that and then break it down? We might need a guest who's had a kid that was, maybe they had corporal punishment and all that going for a while. And so the kid's like, no. And they're very contentious and they had to fix that. We should get a guest on that, because I'm realizing neither of us have lived that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about a lot of the times, there's certain things we need our kids to do. And we just, we did an episode on instant gratification to fill that need as a parent. But, when your kid isn't listening, if you say, I need you to clean the room, and their room's a mess, you go in there and there's garbage piled up, there's clothes and socks and very unorganized, automatically we get triggered. So I would say one thing to not do, right? If we want to build the relationship, and that's what we're always doing in every interaction, we're building the relationship. If we want to damage the relationship, and what you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't be hitting your kid to make them clean a room. Right? You need to eliminate that first and foremost. You shouldn't be yelling at them, shouldn't be screaming at the top of your lungs to get them to hear you. Right? It doesn't matter how loud you scream, they're still not going to listen. If anything, they're going to be maybe a little bit scared, a little turned down of the demeanor and the aggression that you're showing them. So
which is a punishment too. They'll say, I didn't punish them, I just yelled at them. Well, why are we not understanding that yelling is the punishment? They're getting yelled at by somebody. That is a punishment.
Yeah, of course it's a punishment. Who likes to get yelled at? Has there ever been a time where somebody's screamed or yelled at you and you were like, thank you, other than like saving your life? Other like, hey, watch out for that car.
Yep.
When you do it from a place that's from anger, frustration, nobody likes that, man. It's I wouldn't like anybody doing that to me. Um, and like I said, there's a lot of things that we shouldn't do. Right? There's a lot of things that we can do better, and that's something always we touch on too. Right? I did the best that I can. If your kid doesn't make his room, and you're saying I do the best that I can as a dad, and when my kid doesn't clean his room, I smack his ass so he understands to clean his room. That's not the best we can do. That is nowhere near the best we can do, right? What are some other ways that we can offer dads practical advice to have kids listen to get their room clean? And I'm throwing it to you.
No, that's an excellent one. Rooms clean, wearing clothes, eating dinners. We're going to address each of these and more. But let's start with the room. So when the kids, I need you to clean your room, bud. It's getting nasty. No. Okay. What do you like your room the way it is? I start asking sort of open-ended questions like that. And then I want him to start understanding the logic behind my request. I don't want him to blindly serve me. Again, your kids are not there to serve you. My authority, my strength as a man does not come from the subservience of my family. That is not how that works. The metric you're going to measure me from, I can square toe-to-toe with you. You're a grown man. That's how you'll measure me. But if you're like, oh, good job, Zach, your kid, he comes sprinting when you call his name. You must have a good trained child. You trained your kid really well. Bro, my dogs did not attack you. I think you'd be like, all right, good job with your dogs. Your dogs aren't psychopaths. My kids, though, if you think they're supposed to be at the same level of conditioning, you're high. Like, that's not what kids are for. You cannot think that you're a good man because your kids are conditioned to respond to you immediately. My kids ask questions all the time. It's wild. Sometimes I'm like, it's snowing out and you're telling me it's not cold. Like they'll throw some curveballs your way and you've got to figure that out. And you're like, what? But let's talk about the room. And so when they go in there, my open-ended questions, it always leads to us doing the thing as I'm talking to them. I'm like, all right, well, come on. I'm going to show you what I mean. And what I do, I go in the room with them. And like, let's say I pick up a book. I'm like, well, look over there. You've got a hoodie. Grab that hoodie. I was like, you can just hang it somewhere, right? That way it's out of the way, but it's still easily accessible. We're literally cleaning the room during the conversation to where my son or daughter don't realize I'm helping you pick up your room. But because I'm planting these seeds, A, they're distracted. B, they have company. Most of the time, they don't want to clean their room because they want to go play. It's not that they don't want to clean the room. It's that they want to do something else because that's a boring thing. It's like doing homework. But what if you're with them? What if you go with them and you start talking to them and you guys clean the room together? There's no conflict and you get to educate them. And so now, after doing that 1, 2, 55 times, you go in and the room's clean. My daughter and son are very unique, their personalities. And so the way they maintain their room is very unique. Is like their rooms are totally different. I'm not saying one's clean, the other one's dirty. Like, no, they both just have their own system. And it's not better or worse. It's just their system. And so I understand that when I go in, I got to talk to them differently. I've got to explain things a little differently because what motivates one to clean their room doesn't motivate the other. For my son, you're going to lose your cleats. You're not going to be able to find your equipment. He's like, oh, I got to clean my room. I want to find my equipment. With my daughter, she likes the way things look. Like, oh, what a great aesthetic. What if you lined your horses up there instead of in a pile on the floor? What if you put them on the shelf? And she's like, oh, that's great. I could show off my horses, whatever, her dolls. And so that's the approach I've taken with rooms specifically. There's no yelling, dude. There's no spanking. There's no tears. It's literally, there were times where when they were really little, they would sit in the bed and I would talk to them while I cleaned. And they're like, I'm not cleaning it. That's okay. I'm just going to show you how I would do it and what I would do. And you find your version of this. And they would just sit there and like kind of pout. And then they're watching me. And now they want to play with dad. Well, let's not put the Legos away. Let's play with them. We'll play with them after I'm done. Then they'll jump up and help with the books. They'll help with the clothes. And then we'll sit down and play Legos. All of that is just the reps in because later on now, again, they're a little bit older. They're closing into preteen, teen. And it just happens. It's not magic, man. I just explain to them frequently why we do things a certain way. And especially with clean rooms, I was a part of the process. And I'm saying me because I'm talking to you, but my wife does the same thing. Jackie will go in and she'll have almost the same discussion. They'll have the time together, cleaning it up. It's literally not serious enough for us to fight about. It's not that important.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, really. And I think even if the rooms do get messy, that's not a time to have a breakdown. It's not a time to be like, look at everything we've spoken about for years, and now you let me down.
They're sad and it's
It's a
dirty.
failure. Yeah. That's not a way to be. And one thing we have to remember as parents, we're always setting the example.
Mhm.
So 9 times out of 10, if your kids have problems with keeping a room clean or being organized, it's from poor leadership, or it's just from a bad example that you've set. So again, what I always say, right? We have to take responsibility for that role as a parent. The other thing, something I wanted to point out is, even if their rooms aren't cleaned, or even if they're not listening fully, right? If they're not following direct orders, these moments that we have with our kids, we're not going to have them forever. So you can either choose to see it as defiance, as resistance, or you can choose to see it as a time where we're going to sit down with our kids. We're going to explain what's going on, what should be done, right? Not what needs to be done, but what should be done, and how we go about doing things that benefit us. So when you go through that process, whether if it's cleaning a room, you could sit down with your kid, and let's say there's Legos over here, and all right, we're going to clean up these Legos. We're going to move them. We're going to put them away. Now we're going to have an area open where we can do breakdance fighting or whatever. Like, something opens up, and if you keep that creativity, your kid picks up the signal, right? They see the benefit of, if we do one thing, now we have time to do another. And how many parents struggle with that to get their kids to listen, right? What happens? It becomes a bribe almost, right? Oh, if you eat your dinner, I'm going to give you ice cream. No, how about we focus on getting our kids to listen to eat food by being creative and responsive and making it pleasurable, right? We had a whole episode on how important family dinners are, enjoying that experience. And then the benefit of that is, all right, maybe we'll go out and we'll get ice cream, right? Or maybe we'll go do something fun, because we have our things organized. And that is a great example to teach your kids, right? And that's a process of life. There's so many kids that struggle with anxiety, with they crumble under stress because they weren't given this process, right? They were just expected to follow orders and listen to what the parents say. And they have no recollection, right? They don't really understand how to fully process everything we're throwing at them. And then when they fail, we get upset. So you have this vicious cycle in most homes, and the parents keep saying, why can't I get my kids to listen? Well, go back to this podcast, start from the beginning, and there's more coming, I'm sure. But it's just a simple process.
Dude, you just tripped me out. And I'm going to share a story because I didn't really connect these things until you just said it. But before we do that, I want to plant the seed. You brought up food. And so we're going to go to dinner time next, when kids don't eat or don't want to eat, not hungry, or just refuse like veggies. It should, for many families, they're thinking it should be probably the most complex discussion. It's not going to take very long because it's a really quick fix. But before we get to that, my son had a situation happen at school where a situation happened, and the result of it is he has to have a meeting with the teacher. Some things went down, and he's got to sit with the teacher, and they're going to ask him some questions. And before that, so last night, I was like, hey, bud. I was like, you've got that meeting coming up tomorrow with your teachers about the thing. I was like, where you at? You okay with that? He's like, oh, yeah, I don't care. That is a situation where some kids would be anxious because they've got to sit down with an adult and talk about something that's not the most optimal thing. It's a situation where kids would be like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. Oh my God, I'm nervous. Oh my God, whatever. If your kid gets in a fight at school, if your kid witnesses a fight at school, if something happens and your kid has to go and sit and speak to an adult and they have anxiety, it's because they aren't sure if they did the right thing or if they're going to be facing more backlash at home. So they've got to go through it at school, but they're afraid, what happens when my mom or dad find out? That heart pounding. Dude, I had that. Dude, I was terrified whenever I got in trouble. I was like, shit, my dad's going to literally kill me. And I'm here. And so that didn't happen. But in my head, I built up that story. Because we have that relationship, in the discussion, I had told him, I'm like, bud, I'm in your corner no matter how this turns out. You did the right thing. And you could see in his face, he's like, I know. Like, why are you even telling me this? And then he's like, yeah, I'm not worried about meeting with a lot. I'm realizing because of what you just said, a lot of the little events that used to give me anxiety, like true, like heart pounding, I'm going to throw up, I wish I would die anxiety, he doesn't have. It's not even like a thought to him. It's almost weird to think of, why would I be concerned? My dad has my back. If I get in trouble here by this teacher, they're going to get in trouble by my dad. Like, and so to have that confidence, he's not only going to go into the meeting, to present himself, appropriately, but he's going to handle it at a mature level to where I'm not going to back down from this. You're a teacher. I'm a student. I'm not going to back down to you. You're not an authority that's going to compromise my morals or values. I did what I thought was right. My father confirmed, he agreed with me that what I did was the right thing. Nothing changes the stage. Nothing changes this at all. You can change, teacher. And we'll find out today, but I think it's going to be quite an easy discussion to be had. I mean, he was in the right of what went down. But the point is, I didn't realize that by having a relationship that's peaceful in the home, you're removing further violence within your child's head outside of the home. And I know we've said it many different ways, but you've never said it that way. And so that was kind of like a little mind fuck for me, because I'm like, oh shit, I remember being in those shoes. With my son being 12, I'm at the point where I can remember. I can't relate to him, but I can think back that far. I can remember like middle school and what happened and kind of bits and pieces. It's really interesting, man.
That's awesome. Well, the sad thing about that, Zach, is a lot of the teachers or the adults will see that as disrespectful. Your son actually having a voice, right? And speaking up for himself, or not letting people push him around, or not being scared in that position. And they change the meaning of words, right? They change what respect means to fit their narrative so they can still have that position of power or authority. So I think that's an element to point out about that, is the confidence level that you build in your kids when you do take the time to teach them how to listen, right? How to understand what you're saying to them and what you need them to do. That builds confidence. That builds strength. I can't tell you how many fathers, how many people, other adults talk to me if we talk about parenting, and they say, "Oh, well, you're a liberal parent, right? You let your kids do whatever you want. You're free range and you have no authority." That's not what it is. I'm confident what I have taught my kids. When they were younger, I put the time in. I explained things to them. I wasn't hitting them. I wasn't yelling at them. I wasn't punishing them. I was using these moments as teachable moments. So now when they're older, I don't worry. I'm not fear-based, right? I don't constantly have this stress of like, oh, how's my kid going to talk to that adult? What is my son going to do in school when he gets in trouble? He can handle it. I have full confidence. And even more so that he can handle it. If there's a real issue, he'll come to me for advice. He's not going to hide, or he's not going to go to his friends and be like, "Hey, bro, what do you do about this?" Because his friends don't know, right? Because they've been screamed and yelled at, and the friends just want to listen to what the adults say. So it's you're raising kids to think critically, to be independent people who not only have their own opinion, but are willing to test other people about what they think and how they feel about something. That's pure strength.
And that's the aim. The desire of parents, that is their desire. They just don't understand that the actions they're taking are totally contradictory to that. You want that for your kids, but you beat that out of your kids. And that's what we're looking to fix here. And like I said, we're gonna segue that one into eating, which a lot of parents, I mean, dude, we have had a lot of parents talk to us about this. I know you've had it personally, I've had it personally, and then collectively through O&R, and then just inside the fraternity, it gets brought up frequently. And so I'm going to throw this one your way. When your kids don't want to eat, either I don't want to eat at all, or I don't want to eat what you made, do you beat them and say your mother worked so hard on this, shove it down your throat?
Yeah, my wife gets very emotionally attached to people not eating her foods. Not at all. No, I'll tell you what not to do, right? We don't want to force our kids to eat foods that they don't want. We don't want to make them sit at the table for hours upon hours to finish food that they don't want. And we don't want to threaten them with taking things away if they don't eat the foods we cook. The reason why we don't, right? These are all the things we don't want to do. These aren't going to get your kids to listen. This is going to build up resentment. This is going to make your kids hate you or hate sitting at the table with you. That's exactly the opposite of what our goal should be. We want our kids to enjoy the time they do spend with us. Again, there's only so many family dinners you're going to have until your kid's out of the house. So the goal should be to make the most of it, to not always make it about getting my kids to listen, but how could I get my kids to enjoy this process? How can I get them to actually sit down, be a part of it, right? If your wife or if you make something and your kids say, no, I don't want to eat that, I don't like it, what do most parents do? They get upset. They say, oh, I cooked for, I made that instant rice. It took 3 minutes in the microwave. I can't believe you don't want to eat it. How thoughtless of you.
It's cooked with love.
It's cooked with love and radiation. But no, I mean, for real, man, we need to put things in perspective. Don't do that. Don't make your kid feel guilty, because what happens is there's layers upon layers of guilt, of shame, of frustration. All these things compile. And then every time your kid sits down at the table, this is what he or she's faced with, right? There's an anxiety to it. And that is, if the goal is to raise healthy and high functioning, happy kids, you're not doing your part in that moment, right? They're not going to be like, oh, I need to eat to get strong, right? I need to eat to be healthy. I want to have a strong body. I want to have muscles. I want to be able to hold myself up and stand tall. That doesn't happen if we're constantly doing these things at dinner, right? They're not going to become better. And we have to realize that. We have to really think, we ourselves have to think critically about this process, right? It's not just listen to me. It's what is going on behind the scenes, right? What is it that we really need to look at objectively and say, what is the goal? What do we want to do? We want our kids to eat. We want them to be healthy. We want them to enjoy food. We want them to enjoy the company that they keep, and not, the last thing I'll bring up is we don't want them to be that kid who sits at the table waiting to be excused. Right? I don't even think we've ever brought that up. But how many kids have to wait to be excused from the table because the parents are not done?
Dude, when you look at it though, the Clean Plate Club is viewed as like a badge. Like it's like a Boy Scout badge. Like, I'm part of the Clean Plate Club. It's like, if your aim is to teach your child to make good decisions with food, and you say, if you don't eat this, I'm taking away dessert. We can't go here. We're not doing that. You didn't really give them a choice. You said, do this or you're gonna face punishment. That's not a choice. It's do this or I'm taking this thing from you. It's coercion. If you're looking to have a child who has a healthy relationship with food and doesn't have an eating disorder, you don't say, I don't care that you're full, finish your plate. I don't care that you don't like this, shove it down your throat. You have to, or you're not leaving the table. Are you really developing habits that are going to lead to your desire? It's like I was saying earlier. Parents want things, but their actions are totally contradictory to them. The choices you make, the way you raise your kids, the consequences that come from that, you're going to have to live with. The Clean Plate Club leads to eating disorders. It leads to a child who doesn't listen to their body signals. It leads to a child who resents dinner time with their family. It resents being around them because they're like, man, I'm going to have to shove this down my throat. I don't want it. But what do? We're talking about things to replace it with. My daughter went through a phase where she's like, I don't want meat. She just would not eat meat, let's say from 4 to 5. I did not think my child's going to grow up to be one of those vegan feminist psychopaths. And I didn't care. I was like, if she's going to be vegan, like, cool. She doesn't want to, like, we'll find a way to get the protein in. Maybe it's shakes. Maybe it's like, I didn't even cross my mind that I should be like, eat your chicken, eat your beef. I was like, okay, do you want more veggies? Yeah, here you go. And I think it's because at the time we had chickens. So I think in her brain, she's like, oh man, I'm eating their family. And so in a way, she was kind of like putting 2 and 2 together. But guess what happened? She outgrew it. She went through a phase. We've all gone through phases. I used to wear a FUBU velour outfit that matched, dude. I went through a phase, man. And I don't know what the fucking ghetto was. It was in Rhode Island suburbs. And I'm rocking
You wore
FUBU,
that this
hat
weekend.
sideways. I had my ear pierced. Well, it still looks cool. It still fits. I haven't grown since middle school. And so you go through phases, man. We all do. Let your kids have that option. Maybe they're like, you know what? I just don't want this. Kids grow a lot. Kids go through phases where they don't grow at all. Kids, their body's evolving. And so sometimes it needs more energy. And there are times I cannot keep up with my son. The dude eats like a horse. And then there are times where I'm like, he didn't eat breakfast. I don't know what he had for lunch at school, and he's just picking at dinner. I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. And I'm always asking, would you like a snack or something on the side? Like, maybe you don't want a big meal. Is there anything else that you can have? A protein shake, something like that. I'm always trying to find a workaround, because it's not about sitting down and shoveling food down your throat at dinner. It's about meeting your nutritional needs. Food is fuel. There's a time for it to be. You can celebrate with cake. You can do these things. I mean, your lady, she has cakes. Your daughter has cookies. Like, there's a time. We buy Bliss Bites. Big shout out to them. We need to get them on here. But we go through and have a good time with that. So it's not even like it's a limiting thing of calories. It's strictly, you need to be comfortable with understanding good food will get you good results. And so we explain to them, that's why we eat our vegetables. That's why we have this chicken like this. That's why we don't really go to fast food. If they go through a phase where they don't want to eat Brussels sprouts, asparagus, anything green, why don't you bring them to the store and say, hey, we're going to have something with our protein. We're going to have chicken tonight, but we're going to have something else. And you have, I know that you didn't like the asparagus and you're kind of picking at the Brussels sprouts. So I want you to pick, what would you like to have? And then bring them. And if it's like, oftentimes it's vegetables, because they're not as fun, I guess. Let the kid pick. We bring them to the store all the time. We go shopping together as a family. We have probably some attachment issues. We go everywhere together. We just have like a great, I just realized, like, we're always just hanging out, man. Like, I love their company. They love with us. We'll go somewhere like, hey, look at this new dragon fruit. Like, they'll find random fruits and look at this. And we'll buy it. And I'm like, cool, let's check it out and explore it together. But they're a part of the process. And I think kids who maybe they're very selective eaters, it's also because they don't even know what they're getting. And so they're just going to choose from that what they choose to eat. But if they got to go to the store and say, I want red peppers and I like spinach instead of lettuce, the big spinach leaves, all of a sudden your kid's eating a salad and there's no fighting and they're eating their vegetables and you're getting what you wanted through and what they wanted. Everybody wins. But it's never a process of, you have to eat what I made because I made it. Make a big dinner, make a good thing. It's good to have the family come together on family time. You said being excused. We don't do, you have to wait to be excused, but we won't eat until everybody's sat. And then when we eat together, we'll just power through and do our thing. And that's when we're having conversations and discussions. But when the kids are done, it's not a good thing or bad thing. It's just cool. We had our meal. We had our conversation. I don't know why families put so much pressure on that. It should be a fun time. Cook together. Talk about the nutritional value. I mean, dude, there's so much you can do with your kids cooking from the time they're 2 years old that makes them a part of the process to where they want to eat the food. It should not be as difficult as it's become in some homes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up attachment issues as a joke. But I think the real problem with the attachment is when you're eating dinner and after you're done, if everybody's looking to rush and get off the table. Right? There's been many times. Yeah, to me, that's a bad attachment, right? That's an unhealthy attachment. For me and my family, we sit down, and a lot of times we're done eating, and we just sit there and we talk and we discuss things and we share ideas. That's the environment you want to create, right?
I was going to say, when I had dinner at your house, we finished and plates were clean. We were just sitting there talking.
Yeah,
like just
that's what you want to create.
Was looking to get away from everybody else.
Yeah, no, I mean, why would you settle for anything less than that as a man? If we're looking to pursue excellence in all areas, let's focus on even the little things, right? Sitting down at the dinner table, making it enjoyable. The key thing, and this is something that we hear a lot, is to give your kids power. Let them choose. Right? Let them have a choice in what's going on. Let them be a part of the process. I don't think it gets easier than that once you start applying it. Right? A lot of the frustration goes away. A lot of the negative vibes that you have will be eradicated, right? Once you can just sit down as a man, as a dad, and instead of saying, oh, I got to control this. I got to change this. My kids aren't listening. Everything's chaotic. You could just sit down and be like, yeah, this is my family. This is what we do. Right? I'm proud of it. Absolutely, man. That's the goal. There's no other way.
So one thing you said there that I think is, I guess, needed to go to the rest of this is the juju, the vibes. Put positive vibes around what it is you're doing. You need good juju, man. You need good, like,
for a minute.
Harmony. You need good vibrations, good energy. Like when we eat, it's smiles and happiness. Like we're happy to come together. The way our kitchen's set up is it's our kitchen. There's like a counter where you can sit at, and then our dinner table. And so the kids will often sit at the counter and talk to my wife while she's cooking. If I'm running around, do whatever. Or if I'm cooking, my wife will be out there, maybe sit at the table waiting for me to finish up. And then we're together before the meal, then at the meal, and then we're hanging out after the meal. We want to be together. You create an environment where everybody's like, yeah, I want to be here. But let's look at some places where it's not designed for connection. And so your kid is about to leave. They're going to play with their friends. They're going to the playground, and it's 20 degrees out, and they're in shorts and a t-shirt. How do you approach that?
You wrap them up with cellophane, put them in a sleeping bag, and throw them out.
It's one option.
No, if they're not listening to you in that moment.
Yeah, put a hoodie on. No.
Well, I mean, I think I would tie that into consequences, right? Having natural consequences of some sort.
It's not magic. Let your kid face choices. The consequence.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. Them. I'm glad you went with that, because I was like, I really hope you pick up what I'm putting down. They're going to be cold. That's not a big deal. Your kid will go out there and be freezing, come back home and put a hoodie on. Another option, and this is actually happened the other day to us. My daughter didn't want to wear a hoodie or a shirt, and I'm like, it's colder than you think. And she's like, oh, it's going to be warm at lunch. I was like, but you're going to be freezing before then. And she's like, I don't want to wear this. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Would you put it in your backpack? Yeah, I'll throw my backpack in case I need it. Boom. Problem solved. Because I was like, man, like, I really don't want her to freeze, because then I'm not going to drive and give her anything. Like, you're on your own at that point. But I also felt bad. So I was like, I met her in the middle. If your kid's going to run outside and go play, hey, will you tie a hoodie around your waist? All right, I'll meet you there. Sometimes kids will give it. If not, let them go. I would not have forced her to wear a jacket. I would have let her go. I was trying to help her out. But, we met with she threw it in her bag.
Well, it's not conflict adverse, right? It's not that we're avoiding conflict by doing that, right? So how many parents get into a fight with their kid about wearing a coat? Right? You have to. You're going to get sick. How many times have we heard that nonsense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't wear a coat when it's cold out, you get sick. No, talk to Wim Hof. You're lying, right? Your kid... It's not true, and I know you don't like him, but
it's not that I don't like him. I just think I hate when people make
you want to fight him.
It's not their identity that bothers me. But with what you said, a great filter to run everything through. Would you speak to an adult like that? If you said, I'm going to wear my tank top out, and I'm like, bro, it's like 30 out. You'd be like, no, I know. I'm fucking not an idiot.
Well, it happens to me. It happened to me this weekend. I went down to the campfire at night, and I was wearing a tank top.
Good thing you had one of the dudes.
It's all I own, but still, that's not the point.
And nobody's going to say anything to you like that. Nobody's going to be like, you can't go outside and play, Anthony, if you don't put your hoodie on. It's like, bro, you're a grown man. I look at my kids the same way. You go ahead, go play. Yeah. I recommend this, but dude, you're your own fucking person. You'll learn. It's not the end of the world. But let's go to the next thing. I'm trying to go through the hot topic items. Brushing teeth. Brush your teeth. No, I hate brushing my teeth. And they run away. Do you chase them? Do you tackle them? How many parents are screaming at their kids to brush their teeth? And just like dinner time, an event becomes a very stressful, pressure-filled environment, totally preventably.
Yeah. Yeah, your kids don't listen to you. I think it's with anything. Brushing teeth is probably one of the biggest.
That was the last big one I could think of. But this really does. I mean, any parent listening, I really hope you're taking this and applying it to your situation. Like, we can't cover literally them all. I was going with like the big ones, like eating, brushing teeth. And like you said, it's just plug and play with whatever you're going through.
When your kid doesn't want to brush his teeth, you don't hold them down and brush their teeth. Because obviously as they get bigger, that's going to get harder and harder. And you have a chance of getting into injury, hitting their head, something bad is going to happen when you're physically trying to restrain somebody to brush their teeth, right? I'm doing this because it's good for you. I don't want you to get cavities. They're not feeling that. All they think is, what the hell is going on, right? Why is dad stepping on my arms and mom's holding my legs? What, why is nobody explain if brushing teeth is so important, why has it not been explained to me better? Why is this the way? And there's so many different ideas behind this, right? There's so many different things you can unpack. Having fun, giving them choices. Again, it's all the same process, just different events. But I think when you remove the negative attachment as a parent, right? If everything is seen as an obstacle, you're going to get your ass kicked every day. And I mean obstacles that cause you pain, right? If you're not seeing these little events as something that you have to be prepared for, you have to be aware of them. You have to be willing to put in a little bit of extra work. You have to be willing to be creative. That's how things get accomplished. It's like everything else in your life that you should be following this path, right? If you're struggling in other areas, it's probably related to how you make your kids brush your teeth, to be honest, right? If you suck at business and you're stuck and you can't figure out how to get better or how to get a raise or how to create the next best thing, it goes back to the methods that you use with forcing your kids to parent. I mean, to brush their teeth. It's tied in.
I mean, think about it. It's your standard operating mode. I mean, that's what it is. You're defaulting to forcing something to happen. And that's one of the things I want every parent to take away from this discussion. It doesn't have to be this hard. Instead of hitting kids, connect with them, educate them, lead them, or leave them the fuck alone. And do things outside of the way you think you have to do them. Like if they're like, no, I'm like, not right now. You're in a bad mood. I'm in a bad mood sometimes. You're in a bad mood sometimes. Why do we not give our kids the same credit? It's like they always have to be on. If your kid wakes up and they're cranky, you're like, flipping out, smashing them. You wake up cranky, you're flipping out, smashing the family. It's like, so no matter what, you're coming down on them and nobody's ever coming down on you. But you do have those same days. My daughter, she had cheerleading, gymnastics, and something else. It was a wicked busy day. And I'm like, all right, love, we got to brush your teeth. It's almost time for bed. You can grab a book and go read. And she's like, I don't want to. Now, I knew she had snacks. She had like sugar. I was like, all right, what can we do? So she's walking, and then I was like, well, we got to brush our teeth. We got to make sure they're nice and clean so we don't get any cavities. Like, that's where I started. And I could see it in her eyes. She was just ready to fall asleep. Like, the tears were there. And so the next thing is just let her go to bed. So brush your teeth in the morning. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But I tried one other thing. Out. They're not. They're really not. But I was like, let me try one more thing before I just say, like, it's not a big deal. I said, well, I'm going to let the dogs out. Do you want to go outside and watch them with me? And we can brush our teeth outside? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, or she's like, okay. And so I went, got my toothbrush. She got her toothbrush. We went on the porch, and we're just brushing our teeth outside, watching the dogs. And she thought it was the coolest thing to spit the toothpaste off the deck. She go, oh, look at this. And they just spit it all over the flowers below. That was it.
Yeah.
The fighting stopped. The tears stopped. She was happy. She went to bed with a smile on her face. That could have been World War III. I could have just said, go to bed and don't worry about it. And again, she would not have gotten a cavity that night. We have good dental hygiene in this family. But I was like, I didn't want that to be my default. I didn't want to go to that so quickly. And so, well, let's do something out of the norm. For kids, little things like that are like treats. Getting to brush your teeth outside. That's not really like amazing. But for a child, like that's so outside of routine that it's like a special occasion. Cool. So why not try things like that? Why not take approaches to where you're like, oh, you don't want to wear this? Put it in your backpack. You don't want to brush your teeth? Let's go outside and brush your teeth. Like, just have fun with it. There's no set guideline you have to follow. You're not a weak man if your kids have to go brush their teeth outside or they go a night without them. You're not a failure as a father. There's nothing wrong with you for not being a fucking authoritarian 24/7. That's how the men think, dude. I'm realizing more and more, like literally, they think that their value as a man, their success in life is based upon how quickly their kids come running if they call their name. Or in my case, my dad's whistle. I full sprint, and I was a fast kid too. So I'm like, what's up, Dad?
It's insane. That's a good story, man. That's a new one we have to add to the teeth brushing playbook. Right, dude, go outside and spit off the deck.
Just little things, man. It's like
that's awesome.
You got to be creative.
Absolutely.
But that's the thing, dude. You allow yourself rigid minds get rigid results. Creative minds have creative results. My kids are very creative. My wife is creative. I'm creative. It's because we think like that. We don't put walls up. Instead, we knock walls down. And
Dude,
so think about business. Think about what you just
the
said.
world is built on creativity.
When you said that's how they apply to business, that's what I
Yeah.
apply to business. Look
Yep.
at my opportunities. Oh, there's a huge wall here. I'm creative enough to build stairs out of that wall.
Yeah,
I'll
we're not going
climb
to
it.
run through it. How many walls can you run through? Right. Be
Exactly.
strong.
It's not always brute force. Sometimes you got to be smart and creative. Find a way around.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's hard to. I don't want to say it's everything or nothing, but honestly, when you start living this way, this just bleeds into everything you do. Everything you do is based on abundance, is based on connections, based on peace, is based on positivity and growth. And when you start living the opposite of that, it's no wonder that we have the issues that we have inside families.
Yeah. 100%. And the funny thing is you see this in the world, right? You see this with grown adults, with who their peer groups are and who we choose to attach to. People who are unmotivated, people who aren't pushing them to do better, people who are rigid, who are stuck in that fixed mindset. They don't want to advance. I mean, they do, but they don't have the tools. They don't have that
Mhm.
creativity. And when you apply it in your home as a man, you have to apply it with yourself. You see it take shape, right? You see your kids following your example. And again, the solutions, a lot of the answers we gave are right. What to do, what not to do. Once you make these small changes, you can, as a father, also enjoy the time with your kids. You can be proud of what you're building, right? It doesn't have to be this constant defeat and worry. And to me, that's one of the greatest things as a father, right? We live in a world of such dysfunction and deformity of what good is, what a good person is. To be able to have that in your home, that can literally save you and your kids from a lot of bullshit that's coming. Right? They'll be prepared. No matter what's thrown at them, they'll be like, yeah, you know what, we got this. This is what we do in our home. Bring it on. The world is nothing.
Mhm. And that's the aim. And so if you're listening to this, you're looking for other things. Maybe you have an example that we didn't cover, and it's so far outside of the application of what we have covered that you want a direct response. Again, hit the DMs, check the email that is in the description below. If you've just been listening and you're like, yeah, I rock with what these dudes are saying, I'm looking to apply it, stay tuned. There's more coming down the pipeline. So you can like, subscribe, share, all those great things. More importantly, take what it is we discussed and apply it to your life. Watch the results you get. And it might not be immediate. And that's what I was saying about Anthony and I having not had to go through, a decade of living a certain way and then changing it to peaceful parenting, and so that's the discussion we'll be having coming down the pipeline. And if that's where you're at and you're like, well, I'm looking to do this, trust me, it's no different than a few other challenges that you could face: overcoming obesity, overcoming addiction, overcoming financial woes, overcoming relationship issues. This can be overcome as well. It just might take a little bit longer, but stay the course, because once you decide to live a peaceful life, remove corporal punishment from the home entirely, you never go back. So it's just removed as an option. You will find a way. You will get creative because you're like, well, I can't yell and hit him. What can I do? And then you get smart. You learn. I speak to him. I connect with him. I find out what motivates him. I find out what demotivates him and stop doing that. You'll find your way. But if you need advice, hit us up. It's what we do. Anthony, another one
Yo,
down, brother. Looking forward to the next one. You guys stay well. Keep
always
getting
good.
after it. This has been another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood.